Father, in Jesus' mighty name, we thank you for this day. We bless your name. We thank you for Nzuko Umunna, and we also thank you for this summit. We ask, O Lord, that you grant us wisdom and counsel to comprehend and understand the information that will be passed on to us today. Illuminate our hearts, O Lord, for your word tells us that the entrance of your word brings forth light and giveth understanding to the simple. Grant us understanding today in the areas of economics and how, O Lord, to use what we learn today to develop our labor. Father, we ask, O Lord, for your spirit to hover upon us. Let your grace be upon the speakers, that they will speak wisdom that would illuminate us, that would empower us, O Lord, today. We thank you for our members. We thank you for the executive, the leadership of Nzuko Umunna, for putting together this program. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Fine Wanuru, for the opening prayer. Thank you. Now, we have to proceed immediately. Without wasting much time, we have to proceed to the topic of today, which is building a robust private sector-driven economy in the Southeast. But before we proceed, we have to look at the speakers for tonight, and then maybe give a brief rundown of the distinguished gentlemen who are to address us tonight. I don't know whether the Secretariat is ready to read the brief profile.
Yeah, we are ready, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, good
Maybe
evening.
We'll start with the short citation of Chief Dr. El-Rufai Umunna.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good
Can
evening.
proceed.
Okay, this is a short citation of Chief Dr. El-Rufai Umunna. Dr. El-Rufai Umunna is a Nigerian professional with a diverse background in business, entrepreneurship, development, leadership development, politics, and environmental management. He has held several significant positions, including serving as the Special Assistant to the Presidency, Commissioner, member of Anambra State Executive Council, investment consultant to some state governments. El-Rufai Umunna is the Executive Secretary and CEO of the Southeast Business and Investment Summit Group, CBIS, the foremost platform dedicated to repositioning the southeast of Nigeria as a hub for business, investment, and innovation. In this role, he has been instrumental in organizing and promoting programs aimed at attracting substantial investments to the southeast region of Nigeria. Professionally, Dr. Umunna is the Executive Officer of Continental Export Development Nigeria, CDEN, a company focused on exports and in promoting exports and investment development. His other investment interests spans real estate development, digital transformation, cyber security management, and high-tech security system management. His areas of expertise encompass public policy, environmental management, political strategy, and economic development, particularly in fostering business growth and investment in Nigeria's Southeast region. In addition to many academic degrees, El-Rufai Umunna is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Economics of Nigeria, fellow of the Certified Institute of Public Administration of Ghana, Certified Professional Fellow of Public Administration, Fellow of the Civilian Institute of Democratic Administration, Fellow International Institute of Administrative Management, Fellow of Strategic Finance and Administration Institute, Fellow Institute of Investment Management and Research. El-Rufai Umunna is a Paul Harris Fellow of the Rotary Club International and appeared in Nigerian Who is Who in Management Intelligence in 2008. May we welcome Mr. El-Rufai Umunna to the platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Welcome, Dr. El-Rufai Umunna, Ugumba Sumenyi. Thank you so much. for honoring our
Thank you.
invitation.
Thank you.
We have to make introduction for the next speaker before we give Dr. Ifedi Okwinna the floor to address us.
Yeah, Mr. Henry is not online yet. I'm reaching out to him.
Okay. So let's proceed with Dr. Ifedi Okwinna. Dr. Ifedi Okwinna, the floor is yours to address us today. We know you are highly gifted with the power of elocution. We know you have seen it all, both in the public and private sector. That is why we selected you as the person fit for tonight's event. Thank you so much, Dr. Ifedi Okwinna.
Thank you very much. It's my honor and privilege to be here. I must appreciate Nzuko Umunna for us. Southeast remain our home, and every effort worth putting in should be put by everybody. And there's no way you can develop Southeast other than a private sector-driven Southeast. Because collectively, our governments are, in terms of economy, our GDP of the 5 Southeast state government is not up to what Ogun State has. Ogun State is bigger economically in terms of GDP than the entire 5 Southeast states. So, if you look at the GDP of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, by 22nd largest economy, today we are the 4th. We dropped from 2nd to 4th. It's not even a huru at, because North Central, that is 5th, is on our heels. If you make a mistake, they will take over. We then be left with only Northeast, ravaged by Boko Haram and the insurgents. What do we do? If you look at the way it is, governments, we are in a presidential system of government, and government in presidential system come with their agenda. And they run the agenda for 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, if they are re-elected, they run it a second 4 years, and they go. Because you voted them based on the agenda. Look at it, you find that they are driven by their own personal agenda. And you look at the Southeast states, we run different economy. There are no common services, no common laws, no common standards, no common market. And if you look at our economy as people of Southeast, each economy is so small that they cannot compete. And that's why the only way Southeast can drive growth is to have an economy built on the 5 subnationals. If there is a way we should have a common market, it makes it for each and every to queue into one another and work together, and then possibly set up an economic commission passed by the 5 different state houses of assembly to be able to drive the growth on the governmental level. In the private sector, because government has limitations to what they can do, you cannot drive, government in most cases don't drive the investment the way it should be. And the GDP are measured by the businesses, the opportunities, the way the economy moves. It's not the way government move. So that is why it becomes imperative that we must stimulate the private sector in the Southeast. And how do we stimulate the private sector in the Southeast? We must encourage entrepreneurship. Southeast is gifted with MSME, where we are enterprise driven. There are so many small and medium scale industries in the Southeast, but there's no incentive to strengthen the MSMEs in the Southeast. We don't support startups. We don't support innovations. And the SMEs, we don't give them funding. They don't have access to fund them. There's no coaching, there's no training. So for us to really, how do we stimulate MSME? They cannot compete in the financial market. You may say there may be access to market, but there's no access to capital. So that affects the growth of entrepreneurship, the private sector in the system. 2, infrastructure. We found that infrastructure development include the roads, energy, digital infrastructure that attracts investments seems not to be there. I recently spoke to the Enugu Tech Hub. This is a group of young men, about 120 of them. And I found that they are willing, but they need some capital. The kind of capital some of them need are not even much. 50 million, 100 million, 20 million, some even 5 million to be able to actualize the innovation. And I tell you, these are the people, while they sleep, money is rolling into their account. There is no investment promotion in the Southeast. We don't attract local and foreign investments through incentive, tax breaks, and streamlined regulations. I have talked about this streamlined regulations because there is need for a common market and a common regulation, common guideline, common standards in the Southeast. These, most of the time, we don't even play the politics of attracting investment. Most of the time, we expose ourselves to media reading. I must tell you that in the Southwest, in the Lagos today, there are cases of kidnap, but the government go out of their way to block it from being reported. Reason is that if such thing is reported, it will affect investment promotion. But in the Southeast, you organize an investment promotion, all the speakers will come out and tell you there is insecurity in Southeast, that there are opportunities. We miss opportunity. People cannot go. There was kidnapping in my factory. And that is not promotion of investment. It's not investment promotion. Most of the time, we demarcate the investment in the Southeastern heartland by telling stories. There's a difference between crime and criminality. Because if we are intentional about developing Southeast and building an investment driven by private sector, we must know that we are fishing in the same waters with other parts of this country. Then definitely we must think of what information that we dish out from the Southeast. Statistically, Southeast is the state safest place in Nigeria, statistically. But we in the Southeast make it as if it's the most unsafe place. That does not help to drive investment. Skill development. Of course, most of our states do not even give tax breaks. They don't give incentives. Of course, I've talked about reliant regulations. The people taxes and no tax holiday. We treat they are treating a company that have been there for so many years. Now, that does not help to drive investment. We don't enhance skill, vocational training, and education. I try to invest many times in the Southeast. The greatest challenge we have is skill, absence of needed skill. You all know that the best 70% of our population live outside the Eastern Heartland. It's the last 30% that is there. Most of the time, we don't get the right adequate skill that we put in our businesses, and that has affected private sector driven investment. Of course, never mind that the private sector in the South is compared to pay in the Lagos Organized. Public-private sector partnership. We do not promote PPP. Some of our governments are not willing to promote PPP, public-private sector-driven development and policy reforms. When we started SEBIS, Southeast Business Investment Summit Group, most of the state governments in the South thought we are there to play politics. And all they were trying to do is, they don't even reply our letters. They don't even help to give us access to information. And this affects development. You cannot drive an economy when you don't bring the politics of the into play. Every private investor, the government of the day, even though they would like them to drive business, are equally there to give an enabling environment. So I believe that this is one of the hindrances to the private sector investment in the Southeast. Agro-industrialization is one of the lowest hanging fruit. We may not be producing heavily, but we should not forget that the bedrock of our administration was agriculture and industrialization. This is not continuing. We are not doing value addition, which will enhance agro-industry. On digital economy, we found that is coming up strong. And some extent, what is happening in Oka, there is not much support on digital economy. So these are some of the challenges that affect this. But whether it is important that we drive the private, we allow the private sector to drive the engine of growth, it is of extreme importance. Most of the time, you call a meeting, business meeting in the Southeast, every person will be saying, oh, government has not done this, government has not done that, government has not done this. But they don't know that even security challenges can be driven by the government, by the private sector, because security in itself is business. When enabling environment is given to the private sector, there must be effort to provide access to market, access to capital, which the private sector needs to move. And then an enabling environment needs to be created. How do we stimulate the private sector to drive the engine of growth? Today, we have a lot of moribund facilities, moribund businesses built by our administration in parts of Eastern Nigeria, old Eastern Nigeria, and in today's Southeast Nigeria. They are abandoned, and nothing is happening in those places. There are some of those built by Sam Bakwe in the old Imo State and Jinwobodo in the old Anambra State. we can intentionally, our government can intentionally lease this investments to the private sector. But in doing that, they must be able to concession to only serious-minded private sector. And then who will invest into these investments, not those who will go and do asset stripping, because experience has shown during the BPP privatization of most facilities in Nigeria generally, that some people buy this concession deals and do asset stripping and remove quite a number of core assets and spend money on frivolities. We must think of a situation where we hand over this, and within consortium and in cooperation with the state governments, they will be able to inject fund, look for fund and inject fund. And when they do that, it becomes imperative. Equity goes to government. For us to equally stimulate the private sector in the South, we should go for free trade zone. It's unfortunate that between Lagos and Ogun State, we have over 18 free trade zones. In the whole South, we have 2. Enyimba Economic City and the Empower. Empower have a subset in Lion Business Park. Our governments are not serious about starting the free trade zone. Anambra is on it, but Anambra is moving 1 kilometer per 12 hours. We have our people in Nebza. And when they ask Anambra State government to bring a document, it takes them 8 months to bring one document. What the free trade zone may take next 5, and the government is tightening the news on the establishment of new free trade zone. Of course, the Southwest has got more than enough, so they may tighten the news and not give another people the opportunity to establish the free trade zone. Perhaps we don't know that with a free trade zone, the private sector can easily be stimulated. Free trade zone means that at that area, federal government has ceded their powers, ceded everything to the owners of the free trade zone. No more duties, no corporate tax. You can import things without paying taxes and without paying duties. You can export, produce and export from the free trade zone without actually paying taxes and paying the duties. Export duties you don't pay. That is the importance. That is growth of private for this. I pray that Nzuko Umunna should join SEBIS. We will go to Enugu State government and ask Enugu State government to convert part of for free trade zone. We go to Ebonyi. There is one approved for Ebonyi State. It was abandoned. Special free trade economic zone for Ebonyi State. That had been abandoned. It was not gazetted and nobody followed up. Anambra has started sorting, but Anambra can start the second one in the Omambala region. Dangote refinery will have not been built if it's not in a free trade zone. Today we have Dangote free trade zone, we have Lekki free zone, we have Badagry free trade zone. They keep on looking and getting more in the Lagos and Ogun axis. The one in Shagamu today, over 71 industries are taking off immediately announced. If you get to 71 industries taking off, it now means that 71 industries are added to the economy. And when you add this number, you see what you have done to your GDP. That's why we can't even catch up with Ogun State. We are not talking of Lagos again, it's Ogun State. Ogun Gwandon is a free trade zone. Hitherto cited in Imo State. It used to be Imo Gwandon. But some of our people in power will ask the companies to give them some money before they will give them access to land. And in the process, it was when Daniel was governor in Ogun State. Somebody called Gwenga. He said, come over. They moved from Owerri and landed themselves in Ogun State. Today, that place is the largest industrial hub in Nigeria today. These are some of the things we've lost. And who are the people? Our brothers and the Chinese. These are the two key investors in the Guangdong. And the Shagomi one, these 71 industries we're talking about is mainly invested by Igbos and the Chinese. At times, when we talk in the Southeast, people talk about, oh, give us seaport, give us airport, give us this, give us that. These are not things that stimulate the economy in the real sense of it. The two free trade zones we have in the Southeast, Enyimba Economic City is having issue with the Abia State government. They are in dispute resolution for a long time. That alternative dispute system being applied has not been resolved. Enyimba Economic City. Afrexim Bank approved $201 million for Enyimba Economic City. It cannot be assessed because they are in dispute. The federal government was to invest 20 billion naira in Enyimba Economic City. That had been stalled because Minister of Finance and Corporate could not release that money to a disputed area. We should all rise up and resolve whatever difference between Abia State government and the Enyimba Economic City so that we can quickly develop the economy of the Southeast through Enyimba Economic City. The Empower Economic City, free trade zone in Enugu is emerged in dispute. And the cohesion. The owners are even moving to get investors to come in. It is difficult for people to go and invest in ordinary, going to your village, to do what we used to do before, go to your village to buy land and start building. Because you waste the money you ought to have used to build an industry on infrastructure. If you have to do that like Nnewi people did, you end up forming a municipal government because you buy the land, you construct the road into the site, you build a third the road, you put water, you put electricity. Of course, you have to buy a transformer, go and get 133 kVA line to draw to your factory. By the time you finish it, you can no longer, your goods can no. We must, as a matter of free trade zone in our area. And that is the only way we can bring a concentration of industries over a given area. Because once that is certified, a lot of Chinese are eager and willing to come in and invest in a free trade zone. That's the first thing they will ask you. Because we attract investors, we have a lot of investors who pass through us. The first thing they will ask is that if you have a free trade zone, it's easy. I remember the Chinese team, trade delegation, that came with 16 companies to Anambra State. They were looking for a free trade zone. Of course, they don't see any, and then they have to leave. So these are things we must have to put together to stimulate this. We must be intentional about driving industries and forming JVs. It's a private sector driven economy. When you tell an Igbo man about building a company in Saudi, he's thinking of setting an Okeke and Sons Limited to drive an industry. What stops us from forming JVs, joint venture partners? If you do that, you can live where you stay, wherever you are, and then the company will be running. That's why under SEBIS, we worked, the summit we just ended yesterday, we came out, we worked on 7 thematic areas in where we believe the private sector can drive the economy of the Southeast. And we are intentional about the fact that JVs must be formed, and buy-in of the political heavyweights is important, because of the level. Most of the time, government is not supporting you to invest. They are not giving you any incentive. They are not supporting you. That may not be the problem, but when they are fighting you, that is where the problem is, and it do happen in a number of places. You can give instances. I can give instances where government that ought to support you, an investor, is fighting the investor. So if we really want to develop Southeast intentionally, we must stimulate and grow the private sector. And the only way to grow the private sector is first and foremost to identify areas of comparative advantage and walk through the value chain. If you look at today, Enugu can go make Enugu a tech hub, and you see a sprawling economy that will compete favorably with Yaba in Lagos. The cashew business is one of the fastest growing. Kogi State is intense. That's why I tell you, North Central is fast chasing on us. Kogi State has virtually taken over cashew business from Enugu State. The Oge cashew plantation has been abandoned. Cashews are old. We need to replant in those with hybrid, high disease-resistant cashew. The value chain, cashew value chain, is wonderful. And these are some of the things, and the investors are there. The irony of these things are investors are there hanging and waiting for us to make our environment very enabling. Maybe have today a Chinese team that want it. I approach ITA to know whether Benny seed and soybean can grow in these 5 Southeast states. Yesterday, I was with Commissioner for Agriculture in Enugu State, and we were talking. They said they equally have done their research that Benny seed and soybean can effectively grow in those states. IITA report told me that Enugu and Ebonyi State can effectively grow soybean and Benny seed. This Chinese team want an annual supply of 5 million tons of soybean to China. They're even interested in investing if you give them land to come and cultivate themselves and process in Nigeria, because agreement is there covering them. Africa has free trade zone as far as you can produce and sell, export within African continent. And with that, it becomes very easy. The Chinese people are now, what they do is that they come in here, produce here, and sell to Africa, which makes it their product cheaper compared with when they produce in China, and then bring it, be able to haul it or export it into Africa. So the opportunity of African Continental Free Trade Zone is equally helping. The cassava value chain is a very interesting one. We in the South is to embrace. Imo Abia area is good for cassava plantation. And these are some of the things we must invest into. Hanging fruits in agro export. Even palm plantation, everything, including the kernel, have become money. The snail business has become money. So there are so many low-hanging areas one could be able to explore and put interest and then stimulate the economy of the Southeast. Fintech. Southeast is known for money. A lot of unbanked money are in the Southeast. If you look at Onitsha market, Aba market, they have so many amount of money that are unbanked. Money Point entered Southeast in 2024. Go and check their financial reports in Onitsha alone. But we must intentionally develop using a microfinance bank. And then, my brothers, over almost nearly 70% of Nigerian diaspora are from the Southeast. And the diaspora remittances into Nigeria is over 20-something billion. How many recons to Southeast to stimulate the economy of Southeast? Very minute percentage, mainly for burials and building wonderful houses. We must intentionally design a system whereby through our fintech, this money comes into the Southeast to stimulate the economy of Southeast and to be able to use those money to finance MSMEs. I just came back from Aba this evening. You can see that Aba has true and the rest of the world. There is a machine we are talking about with Aba Lepmas, the business community there. One shoe that can give, one machine process line that can give us 48,000 shoes every day. If you imagine we succeed in installing that kind of machine, and 46,000 shoes are produced every day, you hold Africa as a captive market. And all the things they are doing there are. And this evening again, we are talking of branding. Branding the product in Aba. Aba traders, the shoe makers are telling us that people will come and say they should use Gucci and all those household big brands. End up doing Gucci in Aba. Have any brand. People should come and invest in branding. This is something we are losing. So that somebody can who have some money, can bring a brand, market the brand, and then multiply and scale up the brand. Through that, you are stimulating the economy of the place. Power, very essential. Because in all these things we are talking about, you must invest in power. And power can now, thank God the power has been deregulated. And it becomes easy for investors to invest in a power project and make their money. The same thing with security. Another area of the private sector that must be of the side is creative industry stories. We started Nollywood. We are losing out in Nollywood. Sebis has brought all those pioneers in Nollywood. I said, look, we must do something to stimulate the Nollywood industry. Let's begin to tell our stories. Not the kind of story that at times they tell in Nollywood, but the real rich story of the Southeast enablement, and they intentionally market it to move the Nollywood industry forward. With investors into it, it will help in stimulating the Southeast economy. The same thing with sports. Sports was the greatest asset of an Igbo man after the war. We lost the war, no doubt about that. But in the football field, we were winning. Rangers International, Spartans of Owerri, and the rest of them came up immediately after honors in Nigeria. The National Sports Festival in 1973 and East Central State came tops. Of course, we've not hosted until Arugo 1978. We have not hosted any national sports festival in the Southeast. I thank God Peter Mba is now trying to host the first national sports festival in Enugu in 2026. If that happens, you push sports to the topmost burners. When you push sports to the topmost burners, the businesses of sports will come back to stimulate the economy of the Southeast. So there are so many areas in this private sector will pick up and become the engine of growth. When you put all these sectors together and you make them to be active and vibrant, the GDP of the South is we triple. Today, our GDP of the 5 Southeast is about 20 point something billion. We are working to make it 100. Enugu has said they want to move from 4 billion to 30 billion US dollars. So the implication is that if Enugu is working hard to get to that, because from what is happening in Enugu, they may even achieve it or exceed it in the next 5 years. If other 5 Southeast states are eager to be intentional like Enugu is trying to do, we will exceed 100 billion US dollars in the next 5 years. And in the as it stands today, we will be able to compete effectively with Southwest that is leading today. So there are a lot to talk about the private sector. I think I have to yield here, and then I pick questions so that will help us to further understand what we're doing. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. El-Rufai Umunna. Thank you for the elaborate research and well-delivered topic and speech tonight. I must say that you have given us a lot for us to ponder and ask ourselves, what are we going to do to make Southeast better? And you didn't just give us, you also gave us things that we can do as solutions. You talked about the need for us to stimulate the private sector in the Southeast. You mentioned that we have lots of SMEs in the Southeast, that the digital infrastructure that attracts investment are not present in the Southeast. And you also talked about there is need, the fact that there is need for a common market regulation in the Southeast. In the area of challenges, you noted that the greatest of our challenge is the right and adequate skill set. Not just our challenge, but the greatest of the challenge of the investors and companies in the Southeast. What they face mostly is the fact that there are lack of adequate skill sets. And then you mentioned that some states are not willing to engage in PPP. That's a public-private partnership. And you called for need for support in the area of the digital economy. You gave us solutions. The need for free trade zone within the Southeast, the need for buying of Southeast leaders, and the need for us to stimulate the private sector if we want to develop the Southeast. I think the summary of your message tonight is for us to stimulate the private sector. And that also anchors and aligns with our theme for tonight's Nzuko Umunna monthly policy dialogue. I'm thinking that we'll have to move on to the next speaker. Then after that, we'll have the section for questions and answer. The Secretariat, is Dr. Ugochime available?
Yeah, Mr. Henry is available.
Okay, can you proceed and read his resume or CV before we proceed? Thank you.
Yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, we couldn't get his citation before now. But Reverend Dr. Ugochime is the GM, the Managing Director of Kupen Group of Company. They are really known for their vast real estate across the Southeast, across Nigeria, and has expanded in Africa. We give him the platform to say more about himself and also take hold of the policy dialogue this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Dr. Ugoshime.
Thank you so much,
Please
sir.
kindly address this august body tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the setup that we have. Having very painstakingly listened to the first speaker mentioning some of the key missed opportunities that we had in the Southeast, and then rounding it up with the very proactive and very positive note of the opportunities that are still prevalent and are available. I want to say thank you to him. From my background, having stayed in the Southeast and done quite a lot of leveraging and collaboration under certain bodies like Enugu Chamber of Commerce, and then the NECA and so many other things. In 2016, we decided to do a study to find out why businesses in the Southeast are not thriving. It was quite revealing to know that a critical component of it, some elements are from within, in terms of amongst ourselves not believing enough that we can thrive here. And some element has to do with external factors that are outside the competence and ability of the private businesses to be able to handle. But one thing became very clear, that isolated, working in silos, we are no match with the entrenched forces that are out to make sure that we do not survive. I give you an example. In those days, we saw the challenges that we are having at Enugu Airport, the only gateway, international gateway for Igbo businesses. A lot of young men started to import from the Enugu Airport. A lot of businesses were willing to be set up. He mentioned also the free trade zone that was supposed to be Empower, and then the Lion Park that is associated with it. We discovered that a concert of these forces has worked so deeply to affect businesses. The narrative have been pushed on us that one, that our zone is not capable of sustaining good industries without geolocating. Two, that we don't have enough customer base to be able to be the outlet for our products, and so many other factors has eaten in so deeply into businesses. I wouldn't like to go into the past because that's not the essence of our gathering. The essence of our gathering is to look in and ask ourselves, knowing all this, what can we do to be able to prepare ourselves and be able to hit the road running? Most of the Southeast governors, at least a couple of them, Enugu here especially, and Abia, are prepared to be able to infuse the support, infuse the policy support that is quite critically needed to be able to move the economy and to be able to make the people to believe. One critical area that I want to address in that regard is the issue of land management in the Southeast. Many businesses faced the issue of access to land and access to title for the land they have gotten. Even they have bought or they acquired or was donated to them, to get the title, which is critical for most would-be partners and investors into those businesses, was a major Herculean task. People have asked me that apart from the issue of policy challenge, apart from the issue of lack of government support, what is the next major issue? And I pointed clearly to the fact that the absence of an efficient, effective titling and title transfer mechanism for land in the Southeast is a major impediment to businesses coming in. Inability of government to provide land as their own equity in a business or a back-end payment for most businesses have militated against setting up of businesses in the Southeast. So for myself, as I look at some of these factors, what I've asked myself, what then should we do? I've seen a number of organizations from the Southeast, from SESIMA, from so many organizations from Southeast come up, and what have they done? What we have ended up doing was to continue to speak to the same set of people, looking for them, these people in government, what can they do for us? How can they do for us? And what I asked myself was this. The few businesses that have survived in the Southeast and have expanded, what did they do? I look at some of the businesses. I look at, for example, Sarabon Anwatu of Roban stores. When ShopRite came into Enugu, I had a discussion with him because we are part of the chamber movement. And the discussion was, how are you going to fight? And he made a statement that still resonates very deeply with me. If they come from their own country and they take over my business in Enugu and close it down, then I'm not a true born Igbo man. They have provoked me to find a way to answer back. They were giving good quality land, which I was not given. They were giving the Polo Park. They were giving land belonging to the State Assembly on very soft terms, which they could not give to me. But I'm still going to survive by being innovative. There are areas of strategic advantage I have that they don't have. And that was what he did. From staying in one location in Bisala, he went to various parts of Enugu. He went to Abakaliki, went to every other place, to Asaba, to Onitsha, to Oka, to Owerri. So, what am I saying to that? We have very huge entrenched challenges in terms of policy, in terms of land management, in terms of other areas that we can look at. But I dare say that whenever we gather under such auspices as we are gathering, we end up into lamentations. Rather, what should have been the framework would have been that people within different industrial clusters doing the same set of products or the same industry areas ought to gather together and find out within the contents and constraints that are very palpable, that are very evident, and that are very militating against them. What can we do? What are the things? And I discovered that that became the rallying cry for a number of businesses. For some of the businesses that are involved in real estate, that was what has to be done. That instead of pointing out and lamenting about government inability to assist businesses, the question is, what can we do within ourselves, within the given socio-cultural environment we're operating in? And we discovered that there are a lot of things that we can do. We discovered also that some of the assumptions that we have had about those government challenges, these ones that came from outside the zone and they are thriving, what did they do? Is there any way that we can do the same set of things or similar set of things, given the fact that after doing those things they did, they were able to settle down and make profit? What do we need to do? And how do we need to do it? And as of today, that forms the fulcrum of a number of discussions and interactions that we have had, both within ourselves and outside the Igbo heartland with other businesses, to let them know that, give them data of how viable the Eastern Heartland is. I'll give you a little example. I talk about property appreciation. I talk about rental return on properties. We did a study and found out that Enugu is doing at the same level with Lagos. And it was surprising to a number of Igbo investors who have been pouring in money into Lekki axis in Lagos that they could have gotten the same level of capital appreciation, the same level of return on equity that they're getting there if they had invested here. They are surprised that we have numerous tertiary institutions that was churning out people. They were amazed that around the Enugu airport, that they can develop an Aeropolis developmental initiative in conjunction with government that will make it possible for us to grow here. Well, they were surprised that no matter the prejudice of some of the MDAs that are running the airport against the survival of the Akani Dams airport, that there are ways to circumvent those challenges and those entrenched hatred against the zone. And now they are realizing that they can do better. They are realizing that we have one of the highest concentration of medical personnel, medical doctors in any zone. They are surprised about the concentration of other people who can make a difference. So my call statement tonight is that we have to have a data-driven, solution-oriented advocacy and not a sentimental one. How can we ask the various sectors to give us the data that will drive our advocacy in the various areas that they are operating in, so that people, Igbos in diaspora, our people, investors from other climes, can see that the false narrative that they have painted about our zone is not true. The capacity to move the economy of a state from 4.5 to 30 billion, from 4.5 billion to $30 billion, appear to be something that is not possible till the past 2 years. And people realize that this is possible. The fact that taxation and getting funds for government, which is a necessary thing, people thought it was impossible to do that. In the same way, I dare say, every of the barriers we have thought existed against us exists mainly in our minds. But you cannot use the same level of sentiments without very deep dive into data to be able to present to the people, because cash is always a coward. It requires an assurance that is data-driven and very proactive for us to do the needful. So my take is, how do we get this data? For some time in 2017, I happened to have been the president of the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. And many of the investors, World Bank, they come say, oh, Nigeria is not good, there's no possibility of data. I said, no. Why are we fighting the entrenched narrative without any data? And we formed Nigerian Real Estate Data and Collection Group with some of these institutions. And we were able to abstract some data that was able to nullify the negative assumptions, the perspective they have had about the sector. So I think that we need to do the same thing. I think we need to identify the activity centers that have been working against us in the various value chains and be able to address what are those concise issues that are militating against us in each of the activity centers. If it is in land management, what do we need to do so that we can present a win-win, mutually beneficial data, vision, strategy to government and to other people to see a different paradigm has to come in to make our zone a success. When we do that, we'll discover that we'll have a more entrenched economy. As we speak today, Empower Free Trade have not started, but along that, at Obnofia, in Ezag, we have a lot of Chinese who are still coming in their numbers. They are not citing themselves under the free trade zone banner. What are they doing and what can we do? What are they doing that makes them to thrive with some of the products that are churning and throwing into the market? Those who are producing tires at Jokuta area, they're not in a free trade zone, but are still producing and making a lot of money. There are so many things that we need to dive into and be able to see what we can do while waiting for the government policy change and government support and enabling environment. What do we need to do to thrive and sustain the Igbo spirit and resilience for which we have not here for? That some people have done, like I mentioned in the case of Roban and some others. That we must do in our various areas. If we are to believe the narrative that we have had over the years, when some of us started to do real estate in the Southeast, the first language is that Enugwade were talk. And if they were able to knock off the fact that Enugwade were talk, what of other cities in the Southeast? They always give a reason why it's impossible to thrive. But I told them that it's not true, because as a consultant to UNDP, I've done quite a number of studies. I've done the numbers on the affordability. And I found out that there is more to what the very, very wicked narrative against our cities and our capacities and our socioeconomic abilities are churning out. It behoves upon us to counter it, not with the same level of careless statements, but with data-driven feasibility studies that will nullify some of these assumptions and give success stories that we need so much. We need it because a lot of damage has been done to us. We must celebrate the success stories that we have, and we must use it in the front burner of our advocacy. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ugochime, for that brief and punchy delivery. You raised the issues of working in silos and isolation. You talked about forces that are internal and external. You mentioned the issue of land management in the Southeast, and you profiled solutions like the fact that we need to be innovative to sustain businesses in the Southeast, the fact that we need to ask ourselves, what do we need to do and how do we need to do it? And you crowned it all with the fact that we need a data-driven, solution-oriented advocacy. Thank you so much. Now, we have to proceed to the next point, which is the opening the floor for questions and answers. For the question and answer section, I think if you raise your digital hand, we'll call you, and then you can address your question to Dr. Umunna or to Dr. Ugochime. Then they are to take the questions as you present them. So the floor is open for anyone who wants to ask a question or make contributions. Okay, I can see Mr. Daniel Nadi. Can you unmute yourself and then ask your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Henry. And thank you immensely, Dr. Ifedi Okwena and Dr. Gochukwu Chime. This is a wonderful presentation, and first of all, I want to say that what we have started in this association is a very noble one, but there is something that I discovered that is happening. A lot of, will I call it diminishing return among the members, or what, that we don't have a lot of people that are partaking in this meeting, because I believe this is talking about how to develop Alibo. For me, I joined this association because I was hungry of finding an association of the Igbos that will become policy makers, will become those that will be able to reach out to the Eastern governors. First of my mind was I was looking for a way to get to meet people from the other Igbo group. That's what are they called again? Before I found Umunna group. So what I'm saying is this, sir. Mr. Ifedi, Dr. Ifedi, sorry, sir. You talked about the free trade zone and being one of the areas investors, foreign investors, leverage so much. The Westerners, I don't know why the Westerners seems to do things better than us. Is it because they try to be more cooperative in doing things, even though we see that the federal government hand is favoring them? But what's stopping us as a region from really coming together to make sure that we start from even the list of it, whatever we can do to make sure we have something like that free trade zone. The one in Lagos here is big, but if we can have, 1/4 of what we have in Lagos here as a free trade zone, and start with that. A lot of foreign investors wants to come to the Southeast, even if it is when our people, the Southeasterners that is in diaspora, they are even capable of funding or running a free trade zone, or they are even capable of bringing in businesses. If we have a free trade zone or industrialize our region, but there is no enabling environment. Let's not talk about the issue of security, but first of all, coming together, having one voice, being able to meet these governors. As you are speaking, my mind is going to this because it's been a long time I wanted us to be able to have a meeting where we'll be able to go to the governors when they're having governors meeting, Southeastern governors meeting. We'll have a policy that will go and present to them.
Mr. Daniel, please, can you help us with the, sorry for interrupting you. Can you please help us with the question so that...
With the question, please. Sorry that I'm taking this time. So what I'm saying, sir, in essence is how can we be able to put all this together? Dr. Gochukwu mentioned this data-driven advocacy solution. How can we bring in data together, present it to the governors, and we have to make sure that they listen to us? Please, there are things that they think that we can do to be able to make this happen. You can share with us, and again, the leaders of Nzuko Umunna should be able to put this together. Thank you, sir.
So you asked a question to Dr. Ifedi Okwenda and Dr. Ugo Shime.
Yes, sir, please. And your voice is low, so they can hear you too.
All right. Are you hearing me?
If I understand, go ahead.
Okay. So, Dr. Ifedi Okwenda and Dr. Goshime, can we take the questions and then you?
Yeah, if I understand him, he's talking about how we can start to collaborate to pursue the idea of getting a free trade zone. I don't know whether that is exactly the question.
Very well, sir.
Yeah. First and foremost is education. Unfortunately, is that most of us, even in the business community, doesn't know what a free trade zone is. I've taken it upon myself anywhere I talk to businessmen from the Southeast, I always talk to them about what a free trade zone is and the urgency we need to create one. And in most cases, I notice that very often, about 90% doesn't know what we're talking about. So we must have to start talking to our people. Two, the investors. How many of us is ready to invest in pursuing the establishment of a free trade zone? Dangote started in a Lekki free trade zone and eventually went out of his way to establish his Dangote free trade zone. And it's not Dangote free trade zone is not even contiguous. So we can do a non-contiguous free trade zone. But you must start, because there are politics of free trade zone. People have come to, since the Southwest are in power, people have come to understand the urgency and the importance of free trade zone. So we'll be ready to play a marathon game. Before, people get free easily. As days unfold, as we continue to move, things are gradually becoming difficult. But like I said, it is important that we evaluate and try to push like free trade zones. But there must be investors who are ready to invest in it, to own it. People must be ready to bring out money to fight for it. There are fees to pay. There are money we need to spend to get it off NEFZA before we go to Federal Land Revenue Service and then to the presidency where the final approval is given. There is equally an option of adjunct free trade zone where we try to get the owners of the existing free trade zone to expand, to apply for expansion. That one, you don't get the presidential approval. In that case, if power is willing to assist us, part of aiming up to the Ebonyi boundary can be added to Empower Free Trade Zone. And in that case, the investors that are interested in the discovery, Dr. Ene, who able to it, that is a way we can get it from behind. But there must be willingness of the existing owners of free trade zone to collaborate with the new investors. And I tell you, if anybody that invests in free trade zone become a billionaire all over as long as he is alive, he's a billionaire, his children will continue to be billionaires. Because it's something that quietly brings resources. But we must be ready to invest our money to establish a free trade zone. Private free trade zone and government-owned free trade zone and special economic zone, as the case may be. These are all within the context of the free trade zone. So it must be intentional, like I always say. We must be intentional about it. And the people who are willing to invest can come together. Service on our own side can help provide a consultancy at no cost to be able to process the free trade today. But the investors must be pulled together and say, we want to do it. What we should do.
Thank you. Go up, Dr. Gochime. Do you have one or two things to add before I proceed and call on Professor Morris to make his...
No, Dr. Ife have done a lot of justice to what it is. I think he has done a lot of justice to what the question is all about. So go ahead.
Okay.
Please. Yes.
Professor Morris, please can then...
Yeah, thank you. I just want to thank the presenters for a very wonderful and insightful presentation. Particularly the second presenter, I really want you to keep up that whole spirit of not giving up because of the so-called problems. But I just want to ask you directly, don't you think that we might also be able to get over the silo approach that you mentioned by deliberately forming clusters? That is what I mean, industrial clusters, business clusters, so that they can share common facilities. And that also adds to being able to incorporate the tertiary institutions we have in the Southeast. There are about 3 or 4 nodes now. The Nsukka Enugu has this, the Oka Onitsha has this, and the Owerri Umuahia has this. And those that can actually link up with the various industrial units and be able to have areas they can be able to really focus on. Then on to Dr. Ifedi, you miss a very crucial free trade zone, that is the Orashi one, which is specifically meant for oil and gas. On December 4th and 5th in Imo State, there's going to be an investment forum, specifically targeting investors into that zone. Is it that zone does not yet qualify as a free trade zone? Again, thank you for all your presentation. Very wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Morris. Then Professor Dr. Ugo,
yes.
You first of all take the shot, and then Dr. Ifedi will respond.
I want to thank you so much, Prof, for what you said. The fact is this: there's a gap trust, a trust deficit amongst many of our industrialists and investors. I've tried to understand why. Is it because of our eco-twinning approach? We are able to raise apprentices, but I can tell you that many of those people who may raise up to 20 apprentices and they are doing very boy, they never get to join together and form a very big conglomerate, unlike what happens in other climes. So it has also permeated the level of our coming together in clusters and being able to use the power of leveraging on that increased capacity to be able to attract or to defend themselves. And that is what we have tried to do over a long time. And that has not worked out the way it should work out. If that were to work out effectively, it would have been easier for amalgamation and then joining together to be able to make more forceful demand and effective demand for that matter for some either policy changes or for attracting assistance of one form or the other. But we have not given up on that, and that should be the frontier discussion. I'll give an example, which Dr. Ifedi mentioned about Empower Free Trade Zone. I'm aware of their effort. Their effort at Enugu Airport to be able to expand was truncated by lack of government sincerity, and then the people who were to be partners. Our people tend to have a short-term perspective to some of these things, coupled with other factors that make it difficult for us to work together. So I know Dr. Emeka, and he is willing to work. After all, he ceded part of his license for Lion Park to be able to work at 9th Mile. They are operating under his license, and he is still willing to do much more in terms of collaboration and leveraging on the license he has with other would-be parties. But the question still remains the trust deficit that we have. I think that going forward, as some of our people are seeing that the short-term perspective of trading is not going to be a very long-term rewarding avenue when some of those people are going to import those things from and now producing in Nigeria and have local partners who are not Igbos. The Nnewi cluster, as was mentioned by Prof, could have done more well than it is doing well if 1, 2, 3 of those businesses could join together and create a giant. Furthermore, you find that there are some Igbo people who are wealthy. They don't trust one another to be able to do. I can tell you, with all due respect, that some of the big names you mentioned from the north and from the west part of this country are not the owners of the money. They are trading, they are doing business, but they have silent partners who are not coming forward to be the face of the business. They allow those people to be the face of the business because they trust them while they are at the back. If you go to Delta, you find a number of those people who own banks and so many other things. They are not necessarily the owners of 100% of the funds they use, but there was a leveraging, there was a collaboration. So it is an area that I think we will need to begin to find ways of enhancing our collaboration by being more transparent and being more knowledgeable to the fact that unless we do this, we will atrophy and die because we cannot compete effectively without the economy of scale that such amalgamation and leveraging and collaboration will give to us as a people. Whether that leveraging has to do with those who have the land or with government, or that leveraging has to do with fellow private sector operators, that is determined by whichever area we're going into. But the understanding that it's a mitigating fact, it is one of those steps that we have to find solutions to if we're going to thrive, is what I know is going to be the future of what we are doing. If we're able to do that, we'll be able to move to the next level of being more effective. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Ifedi Okwinna, the second part of Professor Morris Iwu's question. Can you attend to that, please? Dr. Ifedi Okwinna. Dr. Ifedi Okwinna.
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Can you please?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for reminding me of the Israeli actually and gas free trade zones in the southeast. The zone is located across Suguta, Haji, Eboma, and Ngopala local government area of Imo State. And of course, the project includes the dredging of Uguta Lake and Orashi waterways, which will provide a sea access route to the Atlantic Ocean. And it's an area that will help us to have access to the sea. It's facilitating the trade and commerce in that zone, and the zone is expected to accommodate various industries, including oil refinery, petrochemical plant, and manufacturing facilities. I equally know that the Imo State government has already initiated the implementation of the project, and the governor will be flagging it off in Maho and Basheke communities in Ohaji, Ebom, Uguta. So I think the more we get this free trade zone, the merrier for us. This is exclusively for oil and gas. And I am particularly interested in us getting as many free trade zones, because that is the easiest way for us to industrialize. People, not everybody will do like Nnewi people that went to develop their area. As a matter of fact, Nnewi people can even join together, put their resources together, and make their town a free trade zone. It's easy. So that most of these things they do in their zone become duty free. So these are some of the ways where some of their brothers from the other divide, the Southwest, are better than us. They play the politics of business as it were. And then, as we get the opportunity, collaboration is, Dr. Gochima has just said it about our problem of collaboration. we seem to be interested in competition more than collaboration. But it's time we give up competition and put more emphasis in collaboration. Business has grown that it's the merger and the acquisition that makes business to grow and then make you to get the best. If companies that are gradually becoming more urban merge together, they become bigger company. And that is the same way why we are saying that the economy of the Southeast need to merge. We need to have common market. Whoever, let Umunna, Nzuko, let all the groups in the South join together to talk to us, the governors of the South, that there is need for us to have a common market. It makes for us to have one bigger market, which we can stimulate to move into an autopilot. Lagos has moved into autopilot. Ogun State is gradually moving into autopilot. Economy, Imo economy, Anambra economy, Enugu economy, nobody will take us serious. So we put all these 5 economies together, they will be at 20-something billion as at today, dollars. Now, the implication is that if they start working together, the economy of scale, they can scale up. And before you know it, they hit the $50 billion economy, which Anambra alone cannot do, Imo alone cannot do, and Abia alone cannot do. But when they come together and move, it doesn't. The politics of who become governor doesn't affect the economy. Just the way European Union is structured to have a common market, we should as move towards that direction. That will then lead us to common services. Because there's no need of but you're looking for power, and the Enugu is looking for power, and Abia is looking for power. When they can as well put their resources and go into one aspect of our or hybrid power system to give us electricity. So I think basically there's need for us to do more of collaboration, and like you said, the eco cannot help us at this level, because you cannot compete effectively when you are a one-man business. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have the digital hand of our able and resourceful Executive Secretary, Dr. Uju Agomwo. Please, can you address us with your question or comments? Can you hear me? We have the digital hand of our able Executive Secretary, Dr. Uju Agomwo. Dr. Uju Agomwo, please, can you talk to us?
Sir. Yes, please. I want to thank everyone and apologize. I've been on the road somehow, and for some reason, I had thought that because of the very not too pleasant news we had not too long ago, I just felt, which depressed a lot of us. So we're thinking, should we go ahead with this meeting or should it be postponed? But thank God that you are doing it. But I wanted to ask a question. There was this, when you were mentioning the fact that normally government is supposed to help you support your business, but this time government is fighting you. That thing touched me so much, because on one side, we know you want government to create an enabling environment to help you do the work, but if that government is fighting, how do we deal with it? So my question therefore is, given that context, I mean, I heard everything you said. I heard the talk you mentioned about the cashew and how others are taking over, as if there is no intentionality about what we're doing. What can be the solution? Is there anything we can do? Is there anything that the likes of Nzuko Umunna, the likes of Joint Body, and the others can do? How do we get the government to understand their role in providing enabling environment? What is it that we need to do to deal with this problem that you mentioned? That it was quite something hearing you say that, sir. Thank you.
Is that to me?
Yes, Dr.
Yeah,
Ifedina.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. You gave us that insight. Now you spoke. Well, you talked about them. So I was, because when I got it was when the presentation that related to Enyimba City that talks about the I think that's a particular presentation I was talking about. The one that talked about government fighting you rather than providing enabling environment. That's the particular presentation I was speaking about.
Thank you, Executive Secretary. That is a reality. It's happening not only in Southeast, but in other parts of Nigeria. The only thing is that in some cases, ours is more. You find that people are so petty. Some political leaders may be petty. Some may be working on political interests. Some may be because of the mindset of you cannot be more than me. So many things may cause it. It has been happening. It is very visible. Whoever is in business in Nigeria, we know that is a reality. There's nothing to hide about it. At times, government is there to stop you from moving, fighting. At times, you want to cite an investment. They are asking you what you cannot believe that a government of a state will be asking you. There is an investment team that want to go to one of the Southeast states to build a health city. The people they met first started asking for percentage equity. It's not even that is big, very huge. And some are even asking for funds. So those things do happen. Now, what do we do? There must be a political solution in all these things. You will still have respected Igbo leaders who can be listened to. It's just for us to identify them. You don't do business in Africa generally without just getting to know who go to talk to who at the appropriate time. And these things are done quietly. It's not something that is noisy. People are noisy about. So such people, even in the Southwest, they still do it. They are the socialites. If you go to Southwest, there are people who are socialites. Those guys are directors of so many companies. It's not that they put one kobo. They don't put kobo in these companies. They see them being directors just because they are always the go-between. Most of the time, our businesses are to be blamed. They don't want to identify the socialites in the Southeast who can go across any government. There's any government in power. Some men, some kingmakers can be any government in power. That if you want to go across government, you identify those people. They are like lobbyists in a parliamentary system. There's nothing bad about it. Some of them are giving sweat equity in these organizations. If they give you sweat equity, they will now, when situation like this comes, say, send this man across to go and do it. Please, we, the Southeast investors and businesses, as well as the political class, we know how to do business. And there's boardroom politics. It's not only politics in the political landmines or political field, but politics of the boardroom can equally be struck. So, Nzuko Umunna can decide to play that kind of role and say, okay, if the situation like this comes, tell us. We in SEBIS have started playing that role. There's an investor that is coming in from Kuwait. They were blocked by some people who were asking for certain things. We are becoming go-between them. We say, okay, don't worry. Tell the Kuwaiti company, just stay by the side. Let's clear the ground for you. We're not asking you for any money. Don't give us any money. But let's go and clear the ground for you. And it's going on now. So these are some of the things we should learn to do. If we are very intentional about developing the Southeast economy, people should bring out themselves out to run a go-between job, because people are at times very petty. At times our governments are very petty. So they believe that, if they invest and then get too much money, next time they will they support my opponent. Or if what happened was a previous government happened in a government. A new government comes in, he said, that might be the governor that has used this man as proxy. I want to block it. So these are some of the things that we need to, that do happen, and which we can equally form a team that can equally go between, and then make sure that this environment are kept enabling so that we can continue to grow. If not, they will fight and fight and fight, and both the government and investors will fight. And no investor is willing to come and fight a government in power. They simply will walk away. And then we'll keep on losing out. We have been losing, at least I know of about 3 companies that are intended to invest in startups that have left because of this kind of thing. So we are tired that we can't allow such thing to happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ifedi Umunna. I think the next person to ask question is Mr. Ifedi Ramobi. Ask your question, and then we'll.
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. My question, which basically is a concern that I have had and something that I have advocated for over the years, is why do we at this time, why don't we have a development blueprint for the Southeast? And I ask the same question because every year and every period we gather around, we hold seminars and summits, and we talk about how we can grow and develop the economy of the Southeast, but we don't have an economic Bible, quote unquote, for the region. What this actually does is that no matter what we say and how well we put it down in words orally, if we don't have it as a document, if we haven't identified those key sectors, what strategies we need to approach them in every area. We've talked about real estate, we've talked about housing, we've talked about creating a business environment, etc. But at the end of the day, we have a new generation that will come in after us and have nothing to actually work with. We've tried in the past, quite some years ago, in the 90s, as a young economist at the time, we're trying to put together a document for the region, something that was tagged the RAISE, R-A-I-S-E, Regional Agenda for an Integrated Southeast, which would have been the equivalent of the Southwest's, Dawn agenda. Something that governments can come in and have something that they can at least, kick off with. Because we're so disjointed. We're going to reconvene here maybe a year from now and discuss the same topic again and talk about how and, all the things we have to do to ensure that the Southeast economy is robust. We have a big elephant in the room, which is a government, and no private sector can strive anywhere in the world where you have, or where you don't have good governance, where you have, dilapidated infrastructure, where you don't have, a conducive business environment. These are things that have to be in place first before the private sector can even, springboard and grow. And so, maybe my question is actually, in 2 parts. Why don't we have this document? And 2, how, and I'm glad that Dr. Uju, Agomo also brought that up. How do we address this government elephant? How do we get them to understand? And they can only understand if there's something that they can work with, which goes back to the document. Thank you.
Okay. Can I come in here? I want to thank you, Ifedi, on the question you asked. No economy can develop without government, given. But there is also something of a political risk that have bedeviled other parts of the country apart from the Southwest. If you may know, and I know you know very well, the consistency and and constancy of vision of the Southwest is centered around Lagos. And the consistency of Lagos is centered around the man who has been there for the past 26 years. So they have had 26 years of consistency of policy, driven by General Advisory Council, GAC, with our current president to be the overlord. All the South Asia, East Asian tigers had a dictator, somebody who was there for many years, because projects, developmental plans need years of execution and reviews to be able to get it to manifest properly. And that's what has happened in Lagos State. And Ogun State has become a byproduct of that osmotic effect, like in osmosis. So it is imperative for us to realize that what we are having is as a result of the policy inconsistency that arise from rapid changes in the key drivers, whether as governors or as commissioners or as whatever it is. And there's no outside government influence like they have in Lagos State that could maintain a constancy. Having said that, because we needed to understand that and see what we don't have. There's no godfather who have ruled Anambra for a number of years with his constitutional policy, or Enugu State, or Ebonyi State, or any of the Southeast states. So we suffer from policy inconsistency and the vicissitude of rapid changes in the key drivers of policy direction in those states. So what we needed to do is what you have said. You've spoken about the race, which you had as a document. We know that over the years, the power of government has to be managed by the private sector. So the question then is, how can the Southeast person or people who understand this problem, whether you like it or not, today, America is going down because of the same issue of policy inconsistency. China is making the headway, is making because of consistency of policy. In India, they have the same party of the in charge, kind of determining direction over some time. So that happens. So we have to ask ourselves, within the constraints of this political risk and inconsistency, what can we do to be able to have city or fathers who may not be in government, but they can have strong leveraging effect. That statement, there was a statement made by IFED about other crimes where you have non-state actors. They are not politicians, but they hold enormous power. They happen in the north. The MN may not be the governor, but he's respected by any government that comes in once he's doing very well. But we find it in Anambra, all of a sudden, a governor can insult the Obi of Onitsha. What a sacrilege. So, but that is what happens in such a situation. We must look at a blueprint of handling this issue of political inconsistencies in policy and in its attendant effect on what we do. That way, the only way we can find that is following and expanding on what Dr. Ifedi mentioned. There are people who can command sufficient respect. They don't dabble into politics. They are AGIP, any government in power. Do we have sufficient number of them who can command respect, who are not politicians, or they don't come out openly? That may be the way to have people who can make things happen without things happening to them because of politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ugochime. The next person, Mr. Ifeanyi Nwannoru, can you please ask your question?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make a comment and then point out that there's someone here who stated in the chat that she has her hands up. I think that's easy. So if you can recognize her to ask her question. then I can then go after her. Thank you very kindly. I think her name is Lizzie Igbi Nelson.
Yes, but I can't see her digital hand again. That's why I have not called her. Please continue, Mr. Ifeanyi.
Okay, what I wanted to say was a question, because we all have been saying here regarding who's going to be the gatekeeper, who's going to be the middle person to try to, influence some policies and all that. I believe that organization, Nzuko Umunna and even Ohanaeze can be that. However, the constraint there is this, because politics and economics go hand in hand. If we can develop much economic power and grassroots political influence, we'll be able to hold these governors to task when they know that organizations such as Nzuko Umunna, the traditional stools, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, do not depend on the governors for funding. If these organizations are self-funded and have the economic power, where we can actually rally the masses, the indigents, the citizens of each state against these political gladiators, they will listen to us. The problem here is this, is that we sort of depend on them to fund the things that we want to do. Thereby, we can't tell them what to do. We can't influence them, because come elections, they have all the powers and everything. So if we can start working on gaining financial and economic independence from them, where we are our own power and control and influence economics and all those things, we'll be able to stand as influencers to them and maybe drive policies and all that. So however we can build that, if we can focus on making NU to be self-sufficient financially, economically, where NU can make impact in the grassroots, and then build from that grassroots, where we can go to any local government and say, hey, you know what? This is what we want. This is how we want it. To the local government chairman, it's either you follow, you dance to what we're saying or what we want policy-wise, or by next election cycle, we will field somebody that will move you from that particular seat. Then we'll be able to, say, okay, we'll be able to have that leverage on them. That's just my little contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Fine. Then I
Can
think
I
the last
speak now?
person is Mrs. Lizzie Ibine.
Neka Ibine. Yes, thank you
Neka.
very much.
Please,
And good evening, everyone. I've been
Good
part
evening.
of this meeting since the inception, but at the time I dropped. I'm an Igbo person from Southeast Anambra State. My problem is that it seems we don't put ourselves together to think along like other people do, like the Lagos or Yoruba that we are developing. Why should we not have a seaport in the Southeast? Is it a crime? This is one of our major disadvantage. Our people have to bring our goods from anywhere from the part of the world into Lagos. And that's why our people are renting and building and developing that area. So if we have to make any thematic engagement or talking to government, we need it to happen. If we can have in Onitsha, because we are by the riverside, we should have our own seaports, and any other state can have, so that our people can conveniently bring in goods. Then secondly, our governors are not developing our states, because if you build roads, industries will develop. I'm a leader of the women group of Nigerian Women Agro-Allied Farmers Association. We buy hectares of land in the north. Where can we get it in the east? And we are empowering them. We use them in the farm. We settle the communities. we develop them and we do a lot. So how can one come down to establish and invest in the Southeast? Our governors are not interested. So if we really want to work, yes, we need to articulate points that we should take to them. And if they listen to us, at the long run, if they retire too, they want to come back home and enjoy. But if you go home, bad roads, no water, no light, still the same thing over 20 years, and governors are coming and going. This is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Lizzie Neka. Thank you for your contribution. And at this point, I don't know, Dr. Ifedi Okwenta and Dr. Ugo, do you have anything to add?
We've gone over the issue of government, and then let me put it very clear. Within the given circumstances, it is a dangerous thing for any business to go or group of people to say you are fighting them, because they will even send people to infiltrate your organization and fight you from within. They don't even need to fight you from outside. You saw how they took over the activities of our Ohanese in so many of the states. They determine who becomes what and other things. So I want us to do a deep dive of introspection into the historical patterns and what has happened. The politician is a very fearful person. He fears so many things, and whatever anybody fears, is willing to do everything to either control or eliminate. So still, I found that the point made by Ifed as to finding Ajib people that they can trust, that this person is not harmful, they can listen to, because many of their activities are driven by fear of the next election cycle, the next 4 years, or their successors, or whether the person they put in power will be able to. So it's all driven by self-interest and fear. Founded or unfounded, that one is your wahala. As far as they are concerned, it is founded. And therefore, they go after any perceived or imagined opposition or opponent. So it is for us to find a way to work with these constant factors and risk factors that we cannot change. And that, for me, is a key takeaway for us, to be able to do that, because if you keep on lamenting and reading the lamentations of how they are not helping, they will not help tomorrow. So they will not help tomorrow. And if I want to tell you also the truth, over the past decades, we have seen some of the people who speak like I'm speaking, and when they get into power, they change. Either they saw something that they didn't know was there while they were speaking, or they realize certain other things. So we have to really look at how to manage the impact of these short-term drivers of our governance and socioeconomic firmament, called the governors and their clique. There's a way to manage them, because some of the other parties who come from other climes are managing them. So, and I mentioned instances of some people who have thrived in the midst of their negativity or fighting of the private sector, and they still thrive. We need to learn and find out, how did they do it? How do these businesses that come from outside and they get large chunks of land, and what did they do? So that we move away from emotion to very logical, realistic business practices that will still yield us profit, and be able to make sure that we play a key role in driving the socioeconomic resurgence of our region. Thank you so much.
Dr. Ifedi Okwena, do you have anything to add? Dr. Ifedi Okwena. Dr. Ifedi Okwena, do you have any other thing to add to this? I saw the digital hand of Iyom Josephine Aneni. Hey, I'm Josephine Aneni.
Yeah. Hello. Yes, thank you very much for seeing
Hearing
my
you.
hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I wanted to ask Dr. Ifena Okwedi a question. Then I wasn't sure how to frame it, so I lowered my hand. Yeah. I wanted to ask, when Ms. Sibine was saying that everybody sends their goods to Lagos. That's why everybody goes to Lagos, that because we don't have seaports. I remember that I have a friend in the maritime industry who was trying to explain that we don't necessarily need a seaport for our goods to land in the east. That it is from where we are buying, people are buying those things, that they will indicate where they want the supplier to supply the goods to. So it will be for those people to supply. For instance, if you buy things from China and you ask them to deliver in Nnewi, that it's their business to deliver it to you to Nnewi. But if you say Lagos, Nigeria, they will deliver it to you in Lagos, Nigeria. Then you now have to go through the hassle of carrying it from Lagos to Nnewi. I didn't quite understand what she was trying to say. So I wanted to ask Dr. Ifena Okwena if he knows about it and if he can educate us on that. That we don't necessarily have to have seaports in the east to thrive.
Thank you. Dr. Ifedi Okwena, over to you.
Before I let me just use this opportunity to thank Dr. Ifena Okwena and the other speakers and everybody who has contributed to this discourse. Thank you very much. You people have enlightened us a lot. So, Dr. Ifena Okwena, over to you.
Are you still here? Dr. Ifedi Okwena. It seems we have lost. So maybe Dr. Go Shime, can you provide an answer to Iyom Josephine Aneni's question while we wait for Dr. Ifedi Okwena? Thank you.
Well, what she did was an explanation and a background to what was earlier raised. And I want to thank you, Iyom, for that explanation and that elucidation of the fact that it's not about the seaport and all those other things. It's about a more programmed developmental initiative that will be more intergenerational, like Amodi mentioned, and how to carry it about, and not just one component of it. So I'm in agreement with what she said. Thank you so much, ma, for those very incisive comments.
Thank you, Dr. Go. In the absence of any other digital hand, I will just provide a background to the basic takeaway for today's Nzuko Umunna monthly policy dialogue. And then after that, I will call on Dr. Uju Agomo, to our able and resourceful Executive Secretary, to give us the closing remarks and closing prayers. I think for me, the major three takeaways for tonight's Nzuko Umunna monthly policy dialogue are: one, I'm picking one from Dr. Ifedi Okwena, which says that we must stimulate the private sector if we want to develop the Southeast. Then from Dr. Ugo Abba, I will pick the fact that he raised that we need a data-driven, solution-oriented advocacy if we want to develop the Southeast. And then let me add what Professor Maurice Iwu mentioned on the comment section of this monthly policy dialogue. He said that Nzuko Umunna can facilitate a venture capital guarantee scheme. So based on the backdrop of these three solutions takeaways, I will thank each and every one of you for finding out time to attend tonight's Nzuko Umunna monthly policy dialogue. I thank you for your active participation. I thank you for the questions. I thank you for the comments. I thank you for, most especially, I thank the resource persons, Dr. El-Rufai and Dr. Ugo Shime. Let me now call on our able and resourceful Executive Secretary, Dr. Uju Agomwo, to give us the closing remarks and the closing prayers. Thank you. Dr. Uju Agomwo. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, the Deputy Executive Secretary.
Okay. I've already mentioned that for tonight, we have, for me, 3 takeaways and what can serve as the solution. That we must stimulate the private sector if we want to develop the Southeast. That is submission I garnered from what Dr. El-Rufai Umunna mentioned. Then from Dr. Ugo Abba, the takeaway there is for us to have the need to develop a data-driven, solution-oriented advocacy. And then in our comment section, Professor Maurice Iwu raised the need for Nzuko Umunna to facilitate a venture capital guarantee scheme. Then on this note, I thank each and every one of you for finding out time to attend our monthly policy dialogue. I thank most especially the presenters, the resource person, Dr. El-Rufai Umunna and Dr. Dr. Ugo Shime, sorry. And I call upon our able Executive Secretary, our resourceful and able Executive Secretary, Dr. Uju Agomwo, to give us the closing remarks and the closing prayers. Our able Executive Secretary, please. Mr. Ugo?
Yeah, I'm on, Mr. Highway.
What's happening?
I don't know. I've been looking at what is going on.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Fine, can you hear us? Oh my God.
Oh. Okay, maybe I'll proceed and give the closing prayers. Let me just once again thank each and every one of you for finding out time to attend this Nzuko Umunna monthly policy dialogue. We thank once again Dr. El-Rufai Umunna. We thank Dr. Ugo Shime. We thank members of the Nzuko Umunna Executive Council, the members of Nzuko Umunna that attended this event. We thank Professor Maurice Iwu for his contributions. We thank Mr. Fine Wanogwo, and we thank Iyom Josephine Aneni, Mrs. Lizzie Winne, Mr. Nnadi, Mr. Ifedi Oramobi, and all who contributed to tonight's program. May God continue to bless and reward each and every one of us. Heavenly Father, for the closing prayer, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this night event. We thank you for all that you've done and all that we've learned today. We thank you for the keynote speakers. We thank you for Alibo. We thank you for everything that we have imbibed today. We thank you for these key takeaways and the solutions. And we pray that as we proceed, we will bring up actionable points that will help to rebuild and restore Alibo to its lofty heights. As we go in and sleep, Heavenly Father, we thank you and we pray that you guide us so that we sleep in peace and in good health and wake up and continue to provide solutions to issues around Alibo. May your name be praised and adored both now and forever.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We thank God.
We
Good
thank
night.
God. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.